All right, welcome to the stock market recap for Wednesday, July 2nd. Before we get started, just wanted to let everyone know that the market is closed on Friday for the 4th of July, and we have a half day of trading on Thursday with the markets closing at 1 p.m. Eastern. In this video, we'll be going over the indexes, liquid leaders, industry ETFs, then have some long and short watch lists going into that half day of trading tomorrow. So jumping into it, QQQ, awesome response today. We gapped down, opened on the low, closed right near the high of the day, and into this resistance gap with yesterday's gap down. Exactly the type of action that you want to see, showing demand after a stress test in the market. And you can see with a lot of the growth stocks, they all rebounded really well. So another kind of test that so far has been passed by the market. You see SPY, the S&P 500, new all-time highs, closed right at the high of the day. We're really starting to see this acceleration move, see how long that continues. IWO, this is the growth stocks within the Russell 2000. Amazing action. Held the support gap on a closing basis yesterday. Today, undercut that low and the 5-day moving average before rallying and closing right at the high of the day and the high of the rally. We're still quite a bit away from the highs over the last 52 weeks, but still acting well above a rising 20-day EMA. ARKK, exactly the type of action that you want to see after a stress test. So we filled the gap down. So I've already eliminated that. We had a slight gap up after testing the 10-day moving average and strong close up 2.3% today. Uh, exactly what you want to see. And then, really, the story today was Bitcoin and crypto related stocks. Bitcoin, we're using BTC to show that. Awesome action, higher low, rallied up through that pivot and really starting to get going. A lot of the stocks within that crypto theme is working well. Taking a look at the liquid leaders, talking about kind of a crypto related theme. Robinhood continues to be the liquid leader of this bull market cycle. We had that gap up and strong close on Tuesday, up 12.8%. A lot of volatility yesterday, but still a close over the 5-day, and then continued higher today, up another 6.1%, making new all time highs, or sorry, 52-week highs? No, all time highs today. So as long as this stays above the HVC and the rising 5-day moving average, I think we're going to continue to see a lot of buying support on this one. RCL, Royal Caribbean, another new all-time high, has basically doubled off the low here now. Just extremely strong. They had that test of the 20-day moving average and the support gap on the 23rd last Monday when I was getting off a Royal Caribbean cruise. And since then, it's up 28%. So I should have gotten off, realized I enjoyed my experience, and bought a bunch of shares in it. Unfortunately, I did not. And now it's kind of extended here. NVIDIA, great action after yesterday's test of the 10-day moving average. Open on the low, close right near the high of the day into that resistance gap. The sooner that we close above that resistance gap, the better. We don't want to see that linger too long. Roblox, open on the low, close at the 10-day moving average, a little bit weaker. So we'll be watching this pulling into the 20-day moving average and gap zone around $97 as a potential pullback buy. CrowdStrike, kind of an inside day today. Close over the 10-day, still under the 5. Just very low volume. Want to see how it responds to that 20-day moving average and support gap and the previous low set yesterday. Zscaler, kind of similar with Roblox, just trading sideways, directionless, very low volume today. GEV, a little bit more volatility, but still an inside day, closed right at the 10-day moving average. As long as we hold either that pullback low or that support gap at 480, I still think that this name is fine. Spotify, a little bit more weakness. We closed under the 20-day moving average for the first time, I guess, since May 29th. And after that close, we immediately gapped up and reignited that uptrend. Kind of what I expect to see here is a gap up and then we reignite the uptrend. If we follow through to the downside, we've got the 50-day moving average, support gap, and kind of a breakout pivot retest as a potential buy spot. CRWV, still a little bit weak, down 2.7% into that 20-day moving average. You can see, what is this, 8 candles, 7 red candle closes. Volume is light on this pullback, so it's not destructive right now, but we're not seeing the relative strength out of this name, which basically showed us how strong the market was a good indicator of the market overall. And the fact that this is starting to roll over, we saw CRCL, another IPO that had a monster rip, start to lose the 5 and the 10-day moving average. So a couple momentum leaders starting to get a little bit weaker. We lost Palantir on the leaders list this week. So just keeping an eye on this. If we follow through to the downside, that's obviously another little risk off signal. Going to the industry ETFs, I'm going to keep pounding the table on this. TAN solar ETF, I really think this is bottomed. We got that bad news on that the what is it? The tax incentives were being wiped away. Held the 50-day moving average, higher low, pullback, and then just exploded. New highs for 2025. Great action off of bad news. With stocks always bottom on the worst news, they top on the best news. This seems like the worst news possible, and price is continuing to go up. And whenever you have that, you don't want to fight against that trend. You really want to be focusing on getting into the liquid leaders within that group. So just want to go over a few. NXT, we closed over the gap down zone. We've actually gapped up today, held that area. Should have had this fixed. Sorry. But open on the low, close near the high with a gap up. You see three strong accumulation candles after that gap down on on Monday at the 50-day moving average. Definitely one of the leaders. SEDG nearly closing this resistance gap. Just super strong action off that gap down. A couple other solar stocks to watch. BLOK, this is the blockchain ETF. New highs today. You can see with Robinhood and Bitcoin acting well, this is going to continue to trend higher if those two continue to act well. Just monster accumulation from 32 almost up to 60, nearly a double off the lows. And now that we have Bitcoin going, it's a group that we want to keep focused on. Semiconductors, great action today, closing the gap down from yesterday's stress test, closed at a new high. Great action there. The other group that I wanted to cover, where is it? Robo is the robotics ETF. Massive, massive base here. And it looks like we're right near that pivot high. So if we can accelerate through those highs, this is another group that signals risk on and something that we want to play. And finally, K Web. This is the Chinese internet. Had a gap down and tested the 50-day moving average today. If that's a higher low, then we have a few stocks to keep on our watch list. Another ETF with a massive base, a 3-year base here. So if that can get going, this is a group that has a lot of space to continue higher. Excuse me. All right, let's take a look at some long setups. First, we have APLD. Zooming out here, we have a nice base, breakout, and then retest of that breakout area. We've kind of undercut the HVC and the 20-day moving average a couple times, but since then we've put in a higher low. Today could have been your buy point through yesterday's high, through the 20-day moving average and the HVC. I didn't buy this today, so we'll just look for either morning weakness into the HVC area at 1018. Stop would be the low of the pullback right around 970, or through today's high, and then stop would be the low of the day or the HVC area. NXT, we talked about how strong solar is. We're just looking for a pullback with into that 20-day moving average and gap zone at 57.65. Because solar is still in kind of like stage one, potentially stage two, we still expect a lot of volatility around these areas, and we've seen that through here. So instead of trying to buy on strength in a group that's still volatile, I want to buy on weakness on an undercut and rally. So we're looking at that 57.60 area. Coinbase, crypto related, strong candle today. If Bitcoin pulls back and crypto has just like a pullback day tomorrow, then that 10-day moving average and gap zone at 336 is the spot to watch for me. LEU energy stock that a lot of the other energy stocks have been very, very weak. This has had a gap down and resistance gap after testing it today, but we're watching that 20-day moving average and support gap, undercut and reclaim as a potential entry. I wouldn't use the low of the shakeout. It's just a little wide for me. I'd probably use a 2 or 3% stop there, but that 20-day moving average, if we undercut and reclaim the low of that support gap, that would be my buy point there. SoFi, one of the groups that I think might get a bid in the second half of 2025 is fintech. We've already seen it with Robinhood as the main leader, but Upstart is another name that you can see. I need to update this chart, but is really starting to break out and acting well here. XLF, we had new highs yesterday, right at new highs today. So SoFi is a name that I'll be watching. If we pull back and undercut the support gap low at 1719, that's buyable, but this 10-day moving average and gap zone would be A plus, and I'd really look to size in at that spot. Roblox, we got that 20-day moving average and gap zone at 97.50 to watch. Carvana has been like the liquid leader of the bull market. I know Robinhood has been like the main one, and it trades way more cleanly than Carvana, but Carvana, I really think this is going to make new all-time highs before it's all said and done, which is insane to say because it went from $373 down to $3.60, now all the way back up. But what I wanted to point out here is it had a gap down. We rallied, kind of pulled back, put in a higher low, and then gapped up through that pivot. Whenever you get a wedge pop, which is the gap up through this area, whenever you get a wedge pop with a gap up, that's one of the strongest signals that you can see in the market. We'll look for a pullback into that gap zone area or just a break into all-time highs as a potential ad spot. AS, this has been on the watch list for a while. Good shakeout of the 20-day moving average, the HVC, and the support gap area. A lower shakeout right at the 20-day, right at the HVC, is going to be buyable versus today's low. ASTS, this is one probably my main focus going into tomorrow. Massive weekly base after I think this was a 2,000% move from $2 up to $40, $37. And then you see nearly 100% move, actually over 100% move, excuse me, 100% move in the last couple of weeks, pulling back into the 10-day moving average support gap. We closed under it twice now. Just looking for a break through today's high as a potential entry. Stop would be the support gap low and the low of today. HSAI, this is, let me just check to be sure, but I'm almost positive this is a Chinese name. Yeah. So one of the Chinese names that I'll be focusing on, if that K-Web can get going. Really strong action last week. Since then, just trading sideways, allowing that 20-day moving average to catch up. Just looking for a break through today's high. Stop would be the 20-day moving average or $20 on this one. TME, another Chinese name. This one I do have a position in already. Looking to add through it through today's high. And then my stop on everything would be that 1838 area, just under the gap low under the 20-day moving average. And then FUTU, another Chinese name with a big base here, trading right near the highs of the pivot. A break through this high, especially on a gap up, that gap up opening range break, that would be A plus with a theme that I think is really the next one to get some money rotated to. So three Chinese names, HSAI, TME, and FUTU. The other theme, solar, NXT, and then crypto, APLD, and Coinbase to really focus on. On the short side, we have APP. This stock continued to lag a lot of the other growth stocks, down from 420 to 330 after the rally highs. Lower high, lower high. We've lost the 50-day moving average, tested it again today on a very strong day in the market, and we still couldn't rally down 0.2%. Just looking for a break through today's low as a potential short. Stop would be today's high in the 50-day moving average. CRWV, I'm a little hesitant to take this because the volume has been so orderly on the pullback, but a break of the 20-day moving average could accelerate a move down. And especially if we see market-wide weakness with that move, this could be kind of another signal that the market has gone up a pretty extreme amount, maybe time for a little bit more rest. DXYZ, this has been on the short watch list for a while, lagging after the rally high. One gap down, two gap down, three gap downs from that rally high. We're just looking for an uppercut and failure of the 200-day moving average and gap zone high versus the 20-day moving average and 50-day moving average as our stop on this one. Really think that this can just continue to roll over here. MMYT, another name that's been on the short watch list since I've started doing these videos again. Got your stage two uptrend, your stage three topping phase, and now this looks like it's entering the stage four breakdown. Um, Couple of ways to play this. If we rally into the 20-day, that would be an entry versus the rally high at $100. That would be about a 3% risk. Um, or like an opening range break to the downside. Stop would be that 20-day moving average in that case. VUZI, one of the more speculative names that really hasn't been rallying. We've seen speculative names across the market act really well. This one, not so much. We uppercut a previous gap zone here at 315, failed, followed through the downside, tried to rally through the 20-day and still closed below it. Just looking for a break under today's low as a potential short. PDYN, another speculative name that you would think would be rocking. It has AI in the name, and it's not. So whenever you have a name that is not railing while everything else is, two things could happen because we're in such a strong market. Relative weakness could be the next relative strength, and we rip higher. We've got the support gap area, so it makes sense of like a quick undercut and rally at that spot. Or we see relative weakness eventually come to the downside, and then we see the rest of the market pull back. So a break of that support gap low, and even the low of the pullback might even be a better indicator at 778 as an entry. Stop would be today's high, the 20-day moving average. BFLY continues to just lag, kind of waterfalls down here, builds a little ledge, looking for a break under today's high to really flush this, not acting well. And finally, we have NUTX. This name's already had a massive move from $4 up to $180. Since then, we're kind of putting in this head and shoulders where we have the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. Very important, the right shoulder is lower than the left shoulder. You always want to see that. And today we had a shakeout of the 50-day moving average, reversed close below those key moving averages, down 7.25% on the day. Just looking for a break through today's low as follow through to the downside. And this is a name, because it's run so much and it's more of a speculative name, it can get hit in a pretty quick way. All right, so that's going to be the market recap. The theme of today was crypto with Bitcoin breaking out. Definitely the group that we want to be focusing on, along with solar and potentially Chinese stocks getting some rotation. Enjoy the half day of trading tomorrow, and especially the day off for the 4th of July. And then we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.